The rules of night shift. The first night, I started my first night shift at the medical lab on a cold, crisp autumn evening. The building was an old gray structure on the outskirts of the city, out of sight, out of mind. The kind of place that looked normal during the day but felt off at night. But like any 22-year-old desperate for money, I took the job without a second thought. I had no idea what I was walking into. It was my first week working the night shift, and the lab was almost always empty. The only sounds came from the faint hum of machinery and the clinking of glassware. I was assigned to handle the samples, monitor the equipment, and make sure everything was running smoothly while the rest of the staff went home. It seemed like a straightforward job. At least that's what I thought. The first few hours went by without incident. I kept myself busy, checking the machines, filing papers, and listening to music to pass the time. The eerie silence of the lab was only broken by the occasional creak of the old building. But then, around 2 a.m., I heard something strange. A soft knocking. I froze, heart pounding in my chest. It came from the storage room, where we kept the biological samples. I told myself it was just the old pipes, or maybe something heavy falling over. But then the knocking came again, this time louder and more insistent. I grabbed a flashlight and walked toward the storage room. The hallway was dimly lit, the lights flickering like they were about to go out. I turned the corner, and that's when I saw it. A small piece of paper, taped to the door, caught my eye. It had a set of instructions written in bold, hurried handwriting. Follow these rules if you want to survive the night. The words were written in a mix of what appeared to be ink and something that looked disturbingly like blood. I ripped the paper off the door and read the rules carefully, my hands trembling. Do not answer the knocking. Never open the storage room door after midnight. The lights will flicker, but do not try to fix them. If you hear breathing, don't look behind you. Do not touch the samples in the far left freezer. The clock will stop at 3:13 a.m. That's when it begins. At 4:30 a.m., you will see them. Do not engage. If you see shadows move in the corner of your eye, look straight ahead and keep walking. If you hear your name called, do not respond. I laughed at first, thinking it was just a prank from the night staff. But when I looked at the bottom of the paper, a final chilling warning was written. If you break any of these rules, you will never leave. The night unravels. It didn't take long for the rules to start making sense, or rather, for me to realize that they weren't just warnings. They were the key to survival. Around midnight, I heard the knocking again. It was faint at first, almost like it was coming from somewhere deep within the building, but it was unmistakable. Knock, knock, knock. I knew better than to go investigate. Rule number 1, do not answer the knocking. My heart raced and my breath quickened. I glanced at the storage room door. The shadow beneath it seemed to grow longer, as if something was moving on the other side. I forced myself to ignore it and walked back to the main lab area. As I passed the freezer section, I noticed the far left freezer was slightly open. I remembered the rule, do not touch the samples in the far left freezer. I tried to close it, but as my hand brushed against the freezer door, a cold wind rushed out, sending a chill up my spine. Something was wrong with the freezer, but I backed away, reminding myself that I was just being paranoid. The air felt thick, like I wasn't alone. Then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., the clock stopped. The silence in the room deepened. The machines, which had been humming steadily all night, suddenly went still. The overhead lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. I stood in the pitch-black room, my flashlight trembling in my hand. I could hear breathing, slow and heavy, like it was coming from right behind me. I froze. I remembered the rule. If you hear breathing, don't look behind you. I clenched my fists, my knuckles white with fear. I didn't move. The air around me seemed to grow thicker, more oppressive. I could hear the breath getting louder, closer, and my heart raced as I resisted the urge to turn around. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, but I knew that if I moved, if I looked, if I broke the rules, it would be the end. Just as suddenly as it started, the breathing stopped. The lights flickered back on, and everything returned to its eerie, mechanical hum. I exhaled shakily, not daring to breathe too loudly. I glanced around nervously, but there was no sign of anyone. Nothing. The shadows in the corner. Around 4:30 a.m., I saw it. a figure in the corner of the room, standing just beyond the reach of the light. It was tall, unnaturally tall, with long, thin limbs. Its shape was distorted, like it was made of shifting shadows that didn't quite fit into the natural world. I remembered the rule. At 4:30 a.m. you will see them. Do not engage. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, but I could feel its eyes on me, even though I couldn't see its face. I tried to look away, but something in my chest kept me rooted to the spot. My fingers twitched, but I didn't dare take a step toward it. I forced myself to turn around, keeping my eyes locked on the floor in front of me. I didn't dare engage. But as I passed the storage room door again, I heard it. A voice. A whisper. My name, come in, Alex. I froze. Rule number 9. If you hear your name called, do not respond. I didn't reply. I didn't even flinch. I just kept walking. My feet felt like they were moving on their own, as if my body wasn't even in control anymore. The whispering continued, growing louder and more insistent with each step. It called to me like a siren song, tempting me to turn around, to open the door. I fought against it, focusing on the rules in my head, reciting them over and over. My mind was a mess of fear, adrenaline, and desperation, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't look. The whisper stopped. The room grew quieter, colder. The final hour. By the time the sun began to rise, I had made it through the night. But as I gathered my things, ready to escape the horrors of the past few hours, I noticed something chilling in the corner of the lab. The freezer door was wide open again. And this time, the far left freezer was filled with something I hadn't seen before. It wasn't samples. It wasn't medical equipment. It was bodies. Dozens of them. Pale, lifeless bodies stacked on top of each other. They were twisted and contorted, their eyes wide open, but lifeless. It looked like they had been there for years, their faces frozen in horror. A hand touched my shoulder. I turned slowly, my heart skipping a beat. Standing there was a figure, another shadow, but this one was different. It wasn't the same thing I'd seen earlier. This one had a face, a twisted, jagged grin stretching from ear to ear. It whispered, "You broke the rules." I didn't have time to react before everything around me went black. The rules. Final warning. I woke up on the floor of the lab, cold sweat dripping down my face. The clock read 6 a.m., and the first shift was beginning to trickle in. The freezer door was closed. The bodies were gone. But I wasn't sure if I was dreaming, or if I had been part of something much darker. As I left the building, something caught my eye. It was a new paper taped to the front door. A list of rules. Do not work the night shift. Never open the freezer. If you hear whispering, leave immediately. The clock will always stop at 3:13 a.m. If you break any rule, you will join them. I shuddered and turned away, not daring to look back. I don't think I'll ever go back. But I know someone else will, and the cycle will continue. And as always, if you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheers.